Yeah, all of us kind of did that. We kind of just kept moving on. So another thing that Paul did when later when you were a baby and you were living in Springfield, and we came when I go to town occasionally grocery shopping, and I would swing by and see you guys, and Shirley Abacare, our friend from England, she'd come a couple years prior, and she bought a huge Cadillac. Because she, in England where she lived, she couldn't really own a car because the roads are so narrow and there's no garages, no parking. So she had the opportunity to have a car, so she got a big car. And so when she went back home to England, she left the car at Paul and Laura's house. And so one day when I came to visit, Paul had turned the car into his studio. So he was out in the car drawing the pictures for garage sale. So the tires were all off and it was up on blocks, and there was Paul in there drawing away. So when you were living in Eugene and we were living in Lost Creek and we had our families, at one point, I don't know how Paul got this, but he got, and I'm not sure what it was called, but I think I've talked to your mom about it and she'll know the name of it, but it was a big helmet that had EKGs inside of it, little, looked like little octopus connectors, all in the interior, like a football helmet. And he was trying to get people to try it because he had it, somebody had given it to him, and nobody would do it. But I said, yeah, I'll do it. And he said it was to attract your beta and alpha waves. And the thing about it is there were earphones inside of it that amplified what your brain waves were doing. So whatever you were doing, you could hear, it must have been the alpha waves, one of the waves. And so he said if you're really, really active and you're angry or you're, aggressive, it'll be horrible noise. But the thing about the use of it was to be able to hear how your brain was working so that it'll calm you down. And so you could, then it was a feedback, biofeedback of your kind of emotional state. So I said, yeah, I'll do that. So I used it when I was gardening in the garden because I thought that would be a perfect time to test it to see when I'm working with the plants, kind of talking to the plants or whatever, and see what my brain waves were, how they were responding. And so I kept it for like a couple weeks and played around with it and gave it back to him. So in the summer of 1968, when we traveled with the hog farm, we were heading from New Mexico to Johanna's parents' house, and but in order to pay for gas, we detoured through Missouri to pick apples, because Red Dog found this place where we could pick apples and make a bunch of money. So there were about 6 buses, or a bunch of us, and so we, on the way to Missouri, all of a sudden, we were the last bus. Babs and I had our bus when we were in the tail end. And all the buses, all the other 5 buses in front of us, all of a sudden stopped, and then we stopped, and then all of a sudden, all the hog farmers ran out of their buses and ran out to the fields, and we were along the edge of a railroad track, and they went out there and started cutting down all these plants along the railroad track, and pretty soon Bab stepped out of the bus and yelled at somebody, and they came over and he said, "What in the hell's going on? What's happening? Why is everybody acting so crazy?" And he said, "That's marijuana, it's marijuana." So everybody, it was an old form of cannabis that was used for making rope during the Civil War. And then after the Civil War, it became illegal. And so, but so it was wild weed. And we didn't know it at the time, but it wouldn't make you high because it was cannabis that was used for hemp making. So they loaded up all those buses in front of us full of big, huge, big tall plants too. They're like 15 feet tall into the buses. And then when we got to the apple farm, we spent many days trimming and making tea out of the hemp plants, and then we dried some really fast in the oven, and everybody kept trying to get high off of it. And it was Missouri no high. They absolutely couldn't get high off of it because it was hemp. So, but the only thing that resulted from this whole episode was that Paul took one of the stalks, the biggest stalk. It was about 4 or 5 inches in diameter. It was huge, and he carved it. And he spent a couple weeks carving at it. I don't say religiously, but anyway, he carved it from top to bottom and had a walking stick for a long time.